My father died, but the bank wants him to sign in person. You heard it right. The day after my father's funeral, I went to the bank with his bank card containing 2 million yuan, his life savings, accumulated through a lifetime of frugality. I neatly pushed the death certificate, household registration book, my ID card, and all the documents proving my father was my father, and I was his only son onto the counter. But the female clerk behind the counter didn't even raise an eyebrow, simply saying 4 words. Incomplete documents.
What's incomplete? The notary office's will, death certificate, cremation certificate, proof of relationship, everything is here.
Our bank has regulations for large withdrawals, especially inheritance-related transactions, requiring the depositor's personal presence for confirmation. I thought I had misheard. An absurd and overwhelming rage surged from my feet to the top of my head. Personal presence? Didn't you see the proof? My father is gone! How can someone who's passed away be here? What are you yelling about? The rules are the rules. The person must be here. If you think the rules are unreasonable, go find our leader. Don't just yell at me. I stared intently at her and saw the name on his name tag, Fang Min. An old man in line next to me couldn't stand it anymore and couldn't help but speak up. Young lady, his situation is special. Can't you make an exception? How can someone who's passed away be here? Rules are rules. If there's a problem, will you take responsibility? You're just meddling in other people's business. I stared at her indifferent face, then my chest got heavy. I leaned over and gathered all the documents one by one at the window, speaking calmly in a voice only the two of us could hear. Okay, the rules are the rules, right? The person has to be here, right? I'll bring my father here in person. After saying that, I turned and left. Fang Min's right. The contemptuous face and provocative words swirled in my mind like a curse. It wasn't a rule, it was harassment and humiliation, a secondary injury to someone who had lost a loved one. Leaving the bank, I drove to the Tianli law firm on the outskirts of the city. Uncle Wang, the head of the firm, was my father's comrade in arms for decades, and an elder who had watched me grow up. Xiao Yu, why are you here? You look terrible. What happened? Uncle Wang's tone was full of concern. Without any formalities, I told him the whole story. Nonsense. This isn't just inexperience, it's pure malice, using a trivial matter as an excuse to deliberately make things difficult. Seeing the usually composed Uncle Wang so angry, the knot in my heart eased slightly. Uncle, since they want my father to be present, I'll bring him there. Xiao Yu, you mean... Uncle Wang looked at me in shock. Yes! I'm going to the funeral home to get my father's coffin and his body. Then I will transport him to the bank lobby and in front of everyone ask Fang Min if this counts as his presence. Calm down, Xiao Yu. I know you're angry, but doing this has too much of an impact. A slight misstep could turn your case from justified to unjustified, and you might even break the law. That's why I came to you, Uncle Ning. I need your help. I want to ensure every step I take is within the legal boundaries. They talk about regulations, right? I'll explain everything to them. Next, I'll lay out my plan from beginning to end, consulting with the civil affairs and funeral management departments to obtain legal procedures for the temporary relocation of the body. My plans are: first, the bank requires us to cooperate by recording the entire process to preserve evidence. Second, I'll contact a qualified funeral service company to use professional vehicles and personnel to ensure the entire process is solemn and respectful, and not to cause any disrespect to my father's body. And third, I'll contact the media in advance. I will be present but not actively expose it. If there is any obstruction, I will ensure that a third party records everything. I want them to know that I am not making a fuss, but am abiding by their ridiculous rules. I want everyone to see how the bank's rules have forced a son who has just lost his father to resort to this method to uphold the dignity of the deceased. Good for them, following the rules. Since they dare to block the way, we dare to make a hole in the sky for them. Xiao Yu, don't worry. I'll take care of the legal side. I'll contact my friends in the civil affairs department to consult on the procedures. The funeral company guarantees to arrange the most professional team. The veteran journalists who cover social news will turn your experience into a breaking news story. With Uncle Wang's support, I feel at ease. The last shred of hesitation vanished. They want regulations? We'll give them regulations. They want the person in person? We'll give them the person in person. I want to see what expressions Fang Min and his superiors will have when the coffin is placed before them. Xiao Yu, all the procedures are arranged. Go ahead and do what you want. The next morning, I arrived at the funeral home. Looking at my father lying in the crystal coffin, I bowed deeply. Father, I'm sorry. I'm disturbing your peace. Your dignity is more important than anything else. Today, I will seek justice for you. At 2 p.m., the financial street was bustling with traffic, and a car loaded with a stretched Lincoln hearse adorned with white wreaths slowly pulled up in front of the bank, followed by 4 black sedans with their hazard lights flashing. This unusual combination immediately drew the attention of passers-by, who stopped and stared in curiosity. I got out first, followed by 8 burly men in black suits and white gloves. They opened the trunk of the hearse, and when the crystal coffin appeared in the sunlight, a collective gasp filled the air. Countless cell phone cameras were pointed at us. "What are you doing here? This is a bank. You can't do this!" I exclaimed. "This is a permit from the Civil Affairs Department. We are legally relocating. Didn't you require my father's presence to claim the inheritance? I've brought him here." The sound, though not loud, reached everyone's ears clearly. The crowd erupted in uproar. "A bank is making a dead person come to collect money. Did I hear that right?" What kind of hellish operation is this? This is outrageous. They're pushing people to their deaths. Take a picture and post it online so everyone can see the true face of this bank. The murmurs and curses became a torrent. I ignored the security guard and gave the order to the 8 burly men to lift the coffin. As the bank's glass doors slowly turned, the crystal coffin was placed in the lobby by the 8 men in black. Everyone in the central bank lobby gasped in shock when they saw a coffin being carried in. Screams and exclamations filled the air. Fang Min, who was chatting with the wealthy woman, froze instantly with a frozen smile. She screamed. The lobby manager, Wu Jiawei, who was patrolling the hall, froze his fake smile. This is outrageous. Security guards, where are they? Throw them out. I walked to the counter and placed my father's enlarged, framed black and white portrait squarely on it, facing Fang Min's bloodless face. Miss Fang, my father is here. Can we proceed with the transaction? Fang Min's lips trembled, her teeth chattering, and her eyes were filled with barely suppressed fear. You're insane! You're crazy! I'm insane. You're the one who drove me crazy. You said it yourself. The rule is the rule. The person must be present. Now that he's here, you... Get it done for me! My roar echoed in the lobby. Wu Jiawei finally reacted. Wiping away cold sweat, he rushed over and shouted at me fiercely. You're disturbing public order! I'm calling the police. Call the police. Fine. Go ahead and call. It'll be good for you to explain to the police how considerate your bank's regulations are. It'll let the whole of Jiangcheng see how you forced a son who just lost his father to bring this glass box to the bank. My words drew a chorus of agreement from the onlookers. The bank is going too far. Let the internet judge this. Wu Jiawei didn't expect that I wasn't afraid at all, and instead made things even bigger. He frantically pulled out his phone and dialed the police, his voice already trembling with tears. Hello, 110? This is the Yaojin Bank Financial Street headquarters. Someone's here. Someone's carrying a glass box and causing trouble. Come quick. After hanging up, he seemed to gain confidence, pointing at me and yelling, You wait! The police are coming soon. Let's see how you clean up this mess. The sirens blared, growing louder as they approached, piercing the noise above Financial Street. 2 police cars, flashing red and blue lights, stopped at the bank entrance, which was completely blocked by the crowd. Wu Jiawei, as if seeing a savior, scrambled out and grabbed the arm of the leading middle-aged policeman. Officer, you've finally arrived. Quickly, take that crazy guy away. Arrest him. He even brought in the family portrait. The middle-aged policeman frowned, pushed aside Wu Jiawei's hand, and with a young officer squeezed through the crowd. When he saw the huge coffin in the center of the hall and me sitting quietly beside it, a hint of surprise flashed across his experienced face. He didn't take immediate action but scanned the scene, the angry crowd, the flashing cell phone cameras, and the black and white portrait on the counter. He immediately understood. This wasn't so simple. I'm Li, the director of the Chengxi police station. Young comrade, can you tell me what exactly happened? I stood up and nodded slightly to him, then pointed to Fang Min, who was slumped behind the counter. Mr. Officer? Wu Jiawei, looking anxious, immediately interjected. Director Li, this kid's come to collect a 2 million yuan inheritance. We told him that according to regulations, he needs to be present in person or provide a notarized document. That's the industry's rule. Who knew he'd actually do that? Director Li interrupted, pointing to the death certificates I had placed on the counter. The death certificates of all the people mentioned are here. Your rules are for the dead, but the living are not. Don't you have any flexibility? Fang Min quietly defended herself, her voice trembling with tears. We're just thinking about the safety of the funds. An older woman in the crowd couldn't stand it anymore and shouted, Safety of the funds? I think you're deliberately making things difficult for him. His father just died and you're still making sarcastic remarks. Don't you have any conscience? You've driven him to this point and you still think you're right? The public's condemnation grew louder and louder, but Wu Jiawei and Fang Min were completely oblivious to the seriousness of the situation. Wu Jiawei whispered something to Fang Min with a wicked grin. Officer Li waved his hand, signaling everyone to be quiet. He looked at me and sighed. I handed over the permit from the Civil Affairs Department and my father's death certificate. Director Li took the documents. No. 6 examined them carefully, then looked up at me, his eyes slowly becoming complicated, finally turning into a barely perceptible. Perhaps feeling sympathy toward me, he said, This gentleman's procedures are legal and haven't violated any public security regulations. Legally speaking, we have no right to interfere. Huh? What do you mean? He even brought in a family member's portrait. How can that be legal? He's following your bank's regulations. This is your internal dispute, and we, the police, cannot intervene. What we can do now is maintain order here and prevent the situation from escalating further. After saying this, he and another colleague began to disperse the onlookers, but it was clear to everyone that they were just maintaining order and had no intention of making me leave. Wu Jiawei's last straw was thus broken. Just then, a reporter squeezed through the crowd and handed the microphone directly to me. Sir, hello? We are reporters from the City Channel. We just saw a post about you online. May I ask? Will retell us, the reporters, the whole story? Wu Jiawei and Fang Min's faces turned green when they saw the camera. The matter had escalated completely. Wu Jiawei instinctively tried to cover the camera, but the reporter deftly dodged him. "Don't film! Don't film!" However, his attempts to stop them were futile. Not only were there TV reporters, but hundreds of mobile phones around were broadcasting live. I spoke to the camera, my voice calm but hoarse. "My name is Sun Xiaoyu. The man inside the casket behind me is of my father, Sun Changhai. He passed away 3 days ago. I came to collect money to handle his funeral arrangements, but they told me that my father had to be present in person. Rules are rules." My question was broadcast throughout the city through the camera. The female reporter was also moved by my emotions, her eyes reddening. She immediately turned the microphone to the trembling Wu Jiawei and Fang Min. "Excuse me, gentlemen, is what you said true? Are your bank's rules really as they are? Is this inhumane?" Wu Jiawei's lips trembled, unable to utter a single word. Fang Min, on the other hand, dared not face the camera, her body shaking like autumn leaves in the wind. Their silence was the best answer. Just then, my phone rang. I answered the call and pressed speakerphone. "Hello, is this Mr. Sun Zeu? I am Zhou Ming, the president of Yaojin Bank." Upon hearing this name, Wu Jiawei's legs went weak, and he almost knelt on the ground. "Mr. Sun, our staff are not familiar with the procedures. I apologize on behalf of the bank for misunderstanding the rules and regulations. I sincerely apologize to you and your deceased father. Please stop reporting this in the media. We will send someone to process your withdrawal immediately, and we are willing to offer an additional 200,000 yuan as compensation for your emotional distress. I just ask that you shut up." "President Zhou, is it? You only think of apologizing now? Too late. Let me tell you, I'm not after money. I just want justice." After saying that, I hung up the phone. Wu Jiawei and Fang Min were already ashen-faced and slumped on the ground. I sat down again and quietly watched the clock on the wall. Every tick of the second hand seemed to be tolling the death knell for some people's careers. 20 minutes later, a black Audi A6 screeched to a halt in front of the bank. It was President Zhou Ming. He rushed into the bank lobby. "Mr. Sun, I'm so sorry. It was my mismanagement that caused you to suffer." "President Zhou, you should understand my request, right?" Yes, Mr. Sun, I'll do it right away." He straightened up, turned to face the terrified Wu Jiawei and Fang Min, and his humility instantly turned into thunderous rage. "Wu Jiawei, Fang Min, you two, as bank employees, not only failed to solve the problem for the customer, but also had a terrible attitude and made things difficult for the customer, seriously damaging the reputation of our Yaojin Bank. The incident caused extremely negative social impact. From now on, you two are officially dismissed. The head office will record your behavior in your files, and the entire financial industry will permanently blacklist you." Fang Min burst into tears, knelt on the ground, crawled towards Zhou Ming, and hugged his legs. "President, no, please, President, no. Please, President, I was wrong. I was really wrong. Please give me another chance. I am begging you, please, Mr. President, give me another chance." Wu Jiawei also completely broke down. He knelt on the ground and kowtowed desperately to me. "Mr. Sun, I was wrong. I was blind. I'm not human. Please have mercy on me. I have a wife and children to support." Looking at their tearful appearance, I felt no pity, only a cold pleasure. I ignored their cries and just looked coldly at President Zhou Ming. Zhou Ming immediately understood. He waved to the security guards behind him and pulled the two of them aside. The two security guards immediately stepped forward and dragged the dead dogs Wu Jiawei and Fang Min away. Zhou Ming straightened his clothes and walked to my father's coffin and portrait. Under the gaze of the entire Jiangcheng people, this usually high and mighty branch manager bowed deeply. His noble posture was sung. "Mr. Sun, I'm sorry. It's our bank fault. We're sorry. It's our failure to manage our employees properly. Your family suffered such injustice and humiliation even after your passing. On behalf of Yaojin Bank, I offer you our sincerest apologies." At that moment, all the flashbulbs went off wildly, recording this historic scene. The surrounding crowd erupted in suppressed cheers. This was a victory for the weak. This was an ordinary person challenging a vast, indifferent system and winning the final victory. It was Mr. Sun who taught us a lesson. We must learn from this and reflect deeply. I walked to my father's portrait. "Dad, your son has avenged you. Let's go home." Zhou Ming quickly followed, his face full of humble smiles. "Mr. Sun, rest assured I will immediately arrange for the best teller to open a green channel for you and process your business right away." I stopped and glanced back at him. I took a bank card from my pocket and tossed it to him. I ignored him and turned to follow the hearse procession. The crowd automatically parted to make way for us. I could hear people whispering about how this young man was truly... That man was so satisfying. That's how those snobbish bastards should be punished. Who will dare say honest people are easy to bully now? Holding my father's portrait, I walked step by step out of this place that had brought me the ultimate humiliation and also the ultimate dignity. The moment I stepped out of the bank, the sunlight shone on me. We got back into the car, and the convoy slowly started moving, driving away from Financial Street under the watchful eyes of countless cameras. The tense nerves inside the car finally relaxed completely at that moment. I leaned back in my seat, watching the street scene rushing past the window, and tears streamed down my face without warning. It wasn't sadness or grievance, but release. 3 days later, at Sishan Cemetery, I held the most magnificent funeral for my father, so that he could leave with dignity. I personally placed my father's urn in the burial plot I had chosen for him. On the tombstone, I only engraved one line: "Tomb of my beloved father, Sun Changhai." I sat alone in front of the tombstone, and I lit the apology letter issued by Yaojin Bank and signed by Zhou Ming in front of the tombstone. The flames rose, turning those hypocritical words to ashes. "Dad, I don't need their hypocritical apologies. I just need justice. You can rest in peace here. Those who bullied us have paid the price." A mountain breeze blew, scattering the ashes, as if my father were responding to me. I stood up and bowed deeply to the tombstone. The impact of that incident in Jiangcheng was far more profound than I had imagined. The coffin bank incident became the biggest news in Jiangcheng that year. I, Sun Zheyu, also became a household name in Jiangcheng. Yaojin Bank's reputation plummeted. It is said that Zhou Ming was quickly transferred due to mishandling the situation. Wu Jiawei and Fang Min's fate was even more tragic. They were permanently blacklisted from the industry, meaning they could never find work in any financial institution again. I had no sympathy for their ending. They chose their own path. When they chose to trample on the dignity of an ordinary person with indifference and arrogance, they should have expected this result. I did not indulge in the pleasure of victory. I used the money my father left me to open a small bookstore near the university town. The bookstore was small but quiet. Every day I organized books, brewed a pot of tea, and watched the students come and go outside the window. Life was more peaceful and tranquil than ever before.